Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think we can start. Yourself and Yoandi have got a hand already, so maybe a few initial remarks and then we turn over to them. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us for this. I guess this is the first developer briefing session for DevCa 2019. If everyone is here, yourself, can you go mute until we're ready to turn over to you? Yes, as David mentioned, we have quite a number of people online. It's best for everyone to mute until you're actually going to be contributing to the audio discussion. All right, so again, welcome everyone. This is the first developer briefing session, and this certainly won't be the last. I mean, we'll have a full briefing session on the actual first day of DevCa, which is Thursday. But since we're doing something quite different at this year's DevCa, we thought it would be useful to have this initial briefing to introduce you to some of the tools that we'll be using at this year's DevCa. So as you know, the theme is about smart communities. And it's a little bit of play on the whole idea of smart cities, which is becoming quite popular. And we'll have quite a bit of discussion at the conference itself around smart cities and what we imagine the smart communities theme can be. But one of the things that we do know, and several of you have participated in DevCa in recent years, one of the things that we do know is that open data is quite important, but just having data is not enough. We think that it's important to have a platform which enables the use of the data, which creates a set of tools that accelerate the software development process. And so we have worked with our colleagues in Cuba. As you know, DevCa is a regional event, and for each year's staging, we have participation in multiple countries, and Cuba is actually one of our biggest participants. And so we worked with our colleagues there this year to develop a platform that we think could enhance the process of working with open data, particularly in the tourism space and more specifically in the context of communities. So we really wanted to have this session today to introduce you to that platform, introduce you to the kinds of tools that you'll have available, and certainly give you an opportunity to familiarize with those ahead of the actual hackathon. Because one of the things that we're hoping to accomplish with this year's hackathon is to identify one or two products that we can take to market. And we think having a platform that enables that is going to be an important enabler of that. So anyway, enough said. David, any comments from you before I turn over to Yoandi and yourself?
No comments from this end, Dr. Marlon.
Okay. All right. Okay. So, Yosel, I'm going to turn over to you. You guys can introduce yourselves and then really just take us through what is essentially a MVP platform, but it is something that we're committed to building out as a fully robust production platform that can facilitate this kind of ongoing software development. So, yourself, are you hearing me? Do you want to take over?
Good evening, Maurice. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we're hearing you fine.
So we are going to talk about the platform that we are built for this DevCa. We have a presentation with some slides that summarize the main functionality of the platform and the tools that developers can use during the competence. Well, anybody, we can. I going to share the presentation from here.
Yes, sir. We're seeing the presentation, so keep going and we'll move the slides for you.
Yes, sir. I have the deck up. Just let me know when you want me to change a slide, and I will. Yes, sir. Are you there? We seem to have lost ESL there for a little bit. Just checking if everyone can hear me. Dr. Monaughton, you there as well?
Sorry. Well, as we know, DevCa 2019, we feature a special focus on the impact of data on the Caribbean people and the community. And we explore the concept of a smart community, as Maurice says. Developer at DevCa Hackathon site across the region will be able to test drive a prototype technology platform that we feature as a portfolio of open data, microservice, and APIs. An example, the developers can download a sample of the mobile and a web application code that can accelerate the development of innovative apps and services for a scalable community tourist ecosystem. Next slide, please. So, Arawak platform, where is? Arawak is a project that offers a minimum viable product that allows to exchange a platform for the management of the tourism sector in the Caribbean region, offering minimal management feature and providing tools for developers and innovators to use the open data to implement new support systems for these important sectors. For the developers of this system, we base in three principles. Support in open source technology. The development of the system is fully supported in open source technology. The technology used are Java, Java language, the Spring Boot framework, the Spring Cloud technology, and Netflix OSS development framework, MySQL database management, and Elasticsearch as NoSQL storage, Apache Kafka for messaging technology between microservices, and Picture is used to manage multimedia. Applying the other principle is applying the principle of open data. System data will be available in different formats to be used by different users, while system data sets in the Caribbean Open Data Platform are the initial database of the system. And the main principle is empower community. The development of the system must be guided by the concept of empower the small community and promoting the tourism in this sector of the Caribbean. Next slide, please. So, what we built? well, we have a microservice for the backend application, and we have some example code, some client apps. These client apps was built using SPA, single page web application using Angular framework, and we develop a mobile application using React Native. So in the backend, from the microservice, we have a low layer that is the basis of the system. That is the microservice of entities, location, calendar booking, reviews, claims, and mail sender. And we have a high layer that represents the business logic microservice. This microservice is called by Playtool. This microservice is only developed for the platform that we build that we build for this hackathon. The developer usually can develop their own microservice over the low layer that they can access to our storage of open data, get locations, get entities. They have functionality for bookings, for reviews, and claim the different results that are in the storage. Please, the next slide. So, what is the main scenario for this hackathon? The developers can build some DevCa application that is the client apps layer, and they going to communicate with the SUL. SUL is a technology from Netflix OSS that is an API gateway that avoid that developers can communicate easy with the low layer microservice. This SUL technology can is only for validate the requests that come from the DevCa application. This DevCa application is can be another microservice, can be a web application, or can be a simple mobile application, or can be a mobile application and web application and microservice. So next slide. So we are going to talk right now about the business components. The business components are the base of microservice of the platform. They are entity and business resource, location and georeference, calendar and reservation, claims, evaluation and stays, or reviews, and the media management. The next slide. The entity and business resource. This is a microservice highly flexible for, that support the creation of any type of entity. The entity concept being understood as a class that describes a group of results. For example, the hotel entity allows describe hotels on the platform. In case of you want to obtain all the hotels, this can be done through the name that was given to the entity. This microservice allows developers save any kind, any multiple data that come from the data sets. It's very important to take into account that this microservice is generic and is recommended in higher microservice of the architecture to pass this entity to specific types, well defined according to the business of the higher microservice. The technology of this microservice are Java programming language, a Spring Boot development framework, and Elasticsearch for the data persistence. Please, the next slide. Location and georeference is in charge of storing all the information of the location data of the resource. A resource is an entity, as we said in the last slide. The entities can be called as resource. So this microservice includes physical location data such as city, country, street, districts, and the also storage data of geographic types like GPS coordinates and data for communication such as email, fax, and telephone of the resort to which the location is associated. Next slide, please. In the scope of the platform is available the microservice calendar and reservation. It's allowed to associate with any system resource, read as any element registered in the microservice described in entity, but not necessarily restricted to it. Basically, the calendar is associated using the resource ID field. This microservice can be used to make bookings for a specific resource using the resource ID. Next slide. So this microservice has two main functionality. That is two main components. That is bookable. That is the time that have a result available and can be reserved, and booking, the time in which a result is reserved, which was previously declared a bookable space. The booking process requires the start and the end dates of the booking and the identifier of the bookable that will be used. The start and the end date of the reservation must be framing inside a bookable space. Next slide. So right now we are going to explain the claims microservice. The claim microservice has the main functionality is provide to any user, any kind of user, claim for any resource. These resources are the entity storage in the microservice entities. So the claim process can be internally in the following state. For example, any result could have any of these states in the microservice claims. These states can be claimed, report by mail, which are complete in verification, accepted, rejected by claimer, rejected by time, rejected by admin, stopped. This is a process that depends of the administrator of the platform. The administrator of the platform evaluates the request, the user request for claim any kind of result, and then this administrator can do the claims to the user. Next slide. Evaluation and state or review allow user to score between 0 and 5 points on any resource and spread any reaction of result. It's more like a Facebook, or that you can put a like, or I don't like, or I love. This microservice allow you to allow to the user safe reaction to any kind of resource. It's very important that we are going to call resource or entities all that kind of objects that are persisted in the microservice entities. It's called a resource or entities, and it's the basis. If you can see that is the basis of the other microservice. Other microservice always save action over this entity or resource. Next slide. The media management microservice, media manager, aims to manage all the static content offered by the platform, such as image, audio files, email templates, and any file that is required. How it works? Well, is very easy. This microservice allows you to unload any kind of the file, image, audio file, and then returns any identifier. This identifier is that you are going to use to get that result, to get that image, to get that file, or to get that video. This allows you to centralize of the static content of the platform. Next slide, please. And the mail server is more like a microservice for communication, facilitate sending email from the platform, and that's simple, but that is accomplished by using a flexible API, so developer can send emails quickly. This microservice is used for all the microservice that need to send any email, and it based two main functionalities: send a simple email, but based on a body of email only text and free to specify, and send an email using an HTML email template. Next slide. So let's start coding right now. Please, next slide. This slide, you can check, for example, the access to the open data source. In this platform, you can download a dataset that they can be used, and you can upload this dataset into our platform, and the entity or result that are in this dataset are registered in the platform. If the entities are really registered in the platform, so the system could not repeat these results. So the second one is access to web service. This is a standard documentation for the APIs using Open API. That is a standard that is used for developers to register any documentation of all the results. In the top right of the site, you can select the microservice that you can test. You have Play Tour, My Server, Booking, Reviews, Entities, Location, Claim, Unload. So Play Tour, remember Play Tour is a microservice oriented for a platform. Is a microservice oriented for our platform. Is only for business logic. And so My Server, Booking, Reviews. When you select any kind of this microservice, the body of the page changes and show you the documentation and all the endpoints that are available for developers. You can test right here any kind of this request. The next, we also develop a wiki documentation. Is the third one. When you open, you can see all the documentation, all the ideas for this platform. The main topic is getting started, conceptual element about the platform, technology that development support, architecture supported in microservice, to the component, result for developers, which only mobile application showcase and Angular web applications. So the four is a functional, is the functional application, is the name of application, Arawak Open Caribbean, Arawak dot Open Caribbean dot org. This is the HPA single page application developed using Angular framework. This is the front-end application that use behind the Play Tool microservice, and the Play Tool microservice use the low-level microservice. This platform is actually in development. You can request some places. And the last one is a platform that we can use during the DevCa. There is a platform to share any comments, any doubts that you have for during the DevCa, during the development. We have a team of developers available for answer any kind of doubt, any kind of request, any kind of comments. We are going to be online during the competition. The users, the developers need to be signed up in the website, need to be registered, so that you can create an account, put your nickname, your email, confirm an email, and you can follow the hashtag. In the next slide, we are going to show you the main hashtag that we are going to follow during the DevCa. This hashtag is for a specific microservice or general comments or general doubts. Also, we usually work for testing our API for get the first view of the API, how it works, the response, how is the JSON works. So here we use the. Sorry, can you put the next slide? No. Back. Here. For the first point is very important because this Insomnia application is a desktop application available for any kind of platform that we use to test our API and see how it responds. So you can download. We create an Insomnia workspace file. This file allows you to import. Well, you don't need to create your workspace from scratch. This file is configured to interact with our platform to test microservice. So in the Yahoo, you can use the README and download. Check the download link and download the program, and then import this file, and it creates a whole workspace. Is separated by microservice. Is in the left panel, you're going to have a folder with the name for location, with the name for bookings, with the name for review, and when you open this folder, they expand, they list all the requests that you can do with our platform. We are going to share an image. I can share an image from my Insomnia, so you can see how it works. You can see. Wait. Wait a minute. I'm going to show you how it works right now.
So when you're ready, you can just share your screen to demo it.
I'm going to show you my screen. You can see the screen.
Yes, we can.
Okay, this is an Insomnia program. As I in the left panel, you can see the folders. Each one represent a microservice functionality. For example, we are going to location. Going to test. This workspace is created after you load the Insomnia workspace that I shared in the slide. When you load this file, it create the workspace. You can see you can create bars. You can create variables, for example, host, and then you can test. For example, I'm going to do a request. Send. You can see this is the JSON response that get the request for information for places. These APIs get the information using Google Play Places. This API allows you to get the information using Google Plays. For example, we are going to test, for example, get all results. You can see the list of results. You can specify the in this tab. For example, we are going to specify a query search using the keyword hotel, and then the API returns all the results that have a type hotel. This is a very important application because you can test the APIs without build a huge front end using mobile application using front end, and you can see the response, and you can see the keywords that you are going to use to show the information in your front end and your mobile application. So the next endpoint is a link for you can download our libraries built in for us that facilitate the request for the platform. You have an available you have a library for PHP developers, for Python developers, for Java. You have a React library for, this is a library for JavaScript and for React developers, and you have another one for React Native developers if you are going to build a mobile application. And the last one is you can download the code sampling, the code of the platform that you can see that I can show that I show you in the last slide. The platform arawak.opencaribbean.org. This is the source code in Angular for that front end application, for that single page application. Next slide, please. These are the hashtags that you can use to mention in the TweetDev platform that we are going to check. We are going to online to check your mention, to check your dots. Next slide, please. So let me clarify. When you use TweetDev and you going to do any question, you use this hashtag for that way we are going to receive a notification for the question, and we are going to answer. We are going to try to answer.
Okay, very good. Okay, thank you, Yosel, Yoande. I mean, everybody that is connected, I hope you get a sense that there is really a rich set of resources here for developers. Certainly, it is a little bit over my head, but I'm not a developer. And listen, it's something that we're testing for this year's DevCa, as to whether we can actually provide a set of higher level functionalities to accelerate the development process. So in previous DevCas, as you see on the screen here, we published a set of open data sets at opencaribbean.org. And so, you know, developers are entirely free to just work directly with the data sets. But what we're trying to do is to introduce this platform that enhances your ability to bring apps to production much faster. So you still have the option of just working directly with data sets published on opencaribbean.org. And we'll be adding more data sets from other countries between now and the start of DevCa on Thursday. But I really encourage you to take a look at the functionality of the platform that you and yourself have built. It's codenamed Arawak, right? And you all understand the significance of Arawaks. It is a beginning, but it is certainly something that gives us a kind of indigenous capability that we think can go a long way in creating smart communities. Next slide for me, David. So yeah, just a couple of other quick points. Well, this is the rationale for why we're doing this, right? I think people like Tremaine would understand, having worked through previous DevCas and brought apps to market, that it's not enough just to have open data. I mean, open data is great to enable hackathons, but to really bring apps to market, and we need more functionality. We need a platform. I mean, think Uber, think Airbnb. We need a platform that enhances the capability for developers to come to market. So that's the rationale for this. Next slide, David. And hence the Arawak MVP. It's actually called Smart Community Open Platform Ecosystem because we think it gives us the opportunity to build out an ecosystem where developers can work with data providers, can work with persons in communities who generate their own data to create a sort of much more robust ecosystem. And again, that's the whole premise. Next, quickly. Okay, so again, we'll make all of these materials available, but this just gives you a context map which shows you that the platform will be at the heart of not only developers, but ultimately other actors in this ecosystem, such as people who have accommodations, people who have attractions within a community tourism context, or people who have data to share. And I don't know if you yourself mentioned it, but the platform also connects to both Seekan APIs as well as Google location APIs. So there's really a lot of rich functionality built into the platform. And again, I encourage you all to exploit that. Next, David. So you've seen these. These are the various URLs that you can play around with. So the APIs, api.opencaribbean.org, the wiki, Arawak, which is a sample web, and I think a mobile application as well will be a part of that they've built out using all the features of the platform. So you'll have every opportunity to look at the source code for those and see how they utilize both the APIs and the microservices. And then, as yourself mentioned, throughout DevCa, we'll be keeping an open channel where developers can communicate with them. So there's this TweetDev forum where you can register and engage with both yourself and Yoandi. Next. And the other interesting thing I would mention is that as part of this pilot, we're working very closely with the Treasure Beach community in Jamaica. So one of the things you'll find when you get to the start of DevCa is a lot of rich point of interest data for Treasure Beach. So again, you can use all of the services of the platform and look at functionality within the context of a community. So we have a very rich layer of data for Treasure Beach that will be available on the platform. And we're also working with colleagues in Belize. Next, David. We're also working with another pilot community in Belize. It's the Toledo district. Similar to Treasure Beach, it's a community that has very rich cultural and historical artifacts. And so it has a significant tourism value. And so we're also working with the Ministry of Tourism there to provide data for this district in Belize. So what it means is that in addition to the functionality that you just saw from yourself on the platform, you'll have access to these data representation for these two communities. So you'll have the opportunity to test a lot of the functionality using real-world data. Next, David. So the last thing we're going to be providing is a set of, go ahead, just click through. Yeah, we're providing a problem space where there'll be a number of potential solutions that you can build. So part of our discussions with the Treasure Beach community stakeholders was to identify possible solutions or possible applications that could be built out on the platform. So this is just an example of some of those, and we'll have a portal. It's what, David, devca.ideascale.com. Again, we'll publish the URL for that, where you'll find a lot of these potential types of solutions that you can build around the platform and around the data that is made available. So that's pretty much it. Certainly free to ask questions of yourself and Yoandi, or of the organizers of DevCa. And again, we'll be publishing all the materials that you've seen in the briefing here. So, as yourself said, looking forward to DevCa and seeing what you guys can do with all of this stuff. So, I think we're open for questions, comments.
Any questions? Remember that if you're trying to speak, you're muted. Someone in the chat asked how many persons to a team. We recommend between 3 and 4 people to a team. Go ahead, Tremaine. We're not hearing it, Tremaine. Not certain what's going on. Feel free to type in the chat if you have a comment or a question. In the meantime, if anyone has any questions. Tremaine's question is, can we use either the framework or consume the data from the framework? I believe yes is the answer to both of those questions. I mean, you can use the API that is provided through the framework, but the data sets are also available. Of course, using the framework allows you to bypass creating some of the underlying processes, whether it is, as Yasel had gone through, rating or reservations or reviews. I mean, there are a whole collection of microservices that are built on top of the data sets that you could take advantage of. But if you don't want to use those microservices, the data is also available. Is an API key required? I don't know if I can answer that, but I don't believe so.
Sorry, can I?
Yes,
answer that?
Yeah.
Right now, we don't need any API key to request any kind of this microservice. And the other question about if you can use the framework or consume the data from the framework is your choice. You can use you can build some microservice over this basic microservice, or you can use your own platform or request from the data sets. The origin of the source is not a problem. So this microservice is to help to provide a to provide devices that you can easily develop some apps over this microservice. And right now, about the API, you don't need any key for right now.
Okay, Tremaine, what was your last question about rating?
Can I answer that? Is there any rate limit for the API? Right now, we don't have any rate limit. In the future, you can when the team develop or define these security points, we are going to specify in the wiki of the platform. We are going to specify all these points that are related with the security of the API.
One of the other questions here. So the idea of the hackathon is to build an app on top of the provided API. You can create an application based on the API, yes, but you can also access the data sets that the API pulls from and build straight from the data if you wish. There are also other data sets that are available through the COI data portal, which you can use as well. The idea scale presents a great deal of possible problems and solutions that you can tackle, and so you can use that as a guide in in figuring out what projects you'd want to create. A follow-up question from Arminos. Where can I get the Insomnia Workplace to download? Yacel, is there a specific place for them to download the Insomnia workspace?
Yes, I'm going to send the link in the chat. You can
Okay.
go.
All right, wonderful.
There.
Tremaine's follow-up question is there any monetization angle that needs to be factored? Need is a strong word. If it is, I mean, if you, based upon some of the possible solutions that were suggested, say for instance, Hail a Cab, you can choose to put in a monetization element in it, but it's not a requirement, I believe. Is that correct, Dr. Manan?
It's not a requirement. I mean, we always encourage, for DevCa and other events of this nature that people think about the business model and where they could go with this, so that it goes beyond just winning a competition. What I would also add, and again, there will be more details on this as we do the formal briefing at the hackathon, but we're working in partnership with the Treasure Beach community and the formal entities there. And our intent as part of this exercise is to select one or two apps that emerge from DevCa and provide resources and support those developers to bring those apps to market. And this will be based on the kind of utility that those apps will provide for the community. So this is very much part of a larger initiative around a smart community. Well, not so much a larger initiative. This is very much around the smart communities idea that we're working on, and Treasure Beach is the pilot. It's probably the first of its kind in the Caribbean, because there's lots of conversations around smart cities, and we'll have lots of discussions on that at the DevCa conference coming up. But what we're testing here is this idea of a smart community and what that entails, and what kind of digital infrastructure supports that, and what kind of apps you can build on that. So, Tremaine, part of our intent is, based on what we see coming out of DevCa across the region, is to pick maybe one or two and see if we can work with those teams to bring those to market.
Tremaine, your question, when does the hackathon begin? It depends on which country you're in, but for Jamaica, where you're from, it begins on Thursday and goes through until Sunday. Different locations will have different start times and end times.
Yeah, and I should explain that. So DevCa is normally a 2-day event as far as the hackathon is concerned. I think some locations are going Thursday, Friday, because of some of the challenges with developers, especially at UWI and some of the other tertiary institutions having exams. We start on Thursday, but we're doing the final presentations, submissions and presentations on Sunday. So that in a sense, we've given more flexibility for persons who can't start on Thursday and or Friday because of exams to work through the weekend. So it is still, in theory, a 2-day hackathon, but we've left the window open from Thursday to Sunday for the final presentations.
Armanos asks, do we stay on location for the hackathon? You do not have to, no.
On location, yeah. I mean, on location, we're providing fuel, lunch, coffee, and stuff. But no, you're right. Developers are free to come and go as they please. But we certainly want to provide the facilities on location if they choose to work there.
Right. If there are any other questions, we will be uploading. Oh, one more question from Tremaine. we only restricted to a mobile app?
No. If I answer that, the answer would be no. But when you look at the types of apps that are relevant to, say, a visitor to a community or within the community itself, mobility tends to be an important attribute.
Yeah.
So if you look at the sample of potential, challenges on the idea scale, you see that most of them tend to point to a mobile app. But no, there's no restriction to it being mobile or web-based. The functionality and its utility will determine that.
Right. And a web app, of course, is a great in between for both. We will be uploading this session to the DevCa website. If you came in a bit late and wanted to view it, as well as all of the slides will also be made, and links will be made available. And I know that most locations will be having a repeat of this briefing at the beginning of their hackathons. All right. Anything else, Dr. Manon, before we close?
No, I think we've covered it. So thank you guys for connecting. And again, feel free to experiment with this stuff, the links that yourself provided, and sign up for the Dev forum and ask questions and really sort of familiarize yourself with the platform and its capabilities so that you can hit the ground running come Thursday.
All right. Okay. All right. Well, that's it. Thank you, everyone, for your time. Thank you, Yasel and our colleagues in Cuba. Impressive work on the platform. All right. Tevon Davis is asking if the APIs are live. Is your cell still on?
Yeah, yes, the APIs are online right now.
Right. So feel free to poke around. I'll by tomorrow morning the various links and so on will be posted, so you can check the wiki and all the documentation.
And the APIs are live, but all the data hasn't been populated as yet. So that is a work in progress.
I'll post the link on the DevCa website. So the same link that you used to join this call, I'll have the links posted there. So check back tomorrow for those links. Oh, there you go. Your cell is pasting the links in the chat, so you can there you go, Tevon. All right. Thanks, everyone.